right, you are listening to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Tal, and with me here today is Brian once again. Brian, how you doing?
Good. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might have heard of me from such previous Too Many Movies as the Salt episode and the Howard the Duck episode. Contrarianism is pretty good, actually. But I'm back. Round 3.
Round 3. I got the number one contrarian on the podcast with me.
Yeah. You might know me from my contrarian takes as the wild robot is slightly less good than people think, and Howard the Duck is not terrible. Just wild takes like that one.
Dude, much like that robot, your takes are wild, dude. Holy shit. Holy shit. You got some wild fucking contrarian takes there, bro.
I know. I'm just really trying to be diff, but I think it works pretty well.
I'm trying to be different, okay?
Yeah. See, people usually say that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's led to some great takes of mine.
Yeah. So, different is good. I agree.
Exactly.
Actually, I disagree with that because that makes me different.
Yeah, see, this is actually why I'm happy. See, I would tell more people to be contrarian, but if everyone was contrarian, then I don't have no point, really.
Yeah, and when everyone's contrarian, no one will be.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, Brian, today's I was about to say today's an important episode. It's really not. I wanted to start doing a lot more shorter episodes. I mean, you see how long a lot of the episodes can get, and I'm like, you know what?
9-hour episode.
You know what? We're gonna be. I just want to talk about one movie today. One movie. So, a little bit more backstory. I was sick last week. I still am, but I'm a trooper. I'll fight through it. But I stayed home from work. And I just got back home and I just stayed home and I was like, I need to watch something. So I looked at my big collection of movies and I thought, let me just pull a DVD out at random. Let me just watch something. If it's no good, I'll never make an episode on it. If it's pretty good, maybe I'll do something. So I just happened to pull out The Bone Collector, starring Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do a short episode. And I decided to do it with you, Brian, because you're going to love this. The director of this movie is one Phillip Noyce, who we all know directed Salt. And
yes,
you were on that episode.
Yeah, the iconic Salt episode. Yeah. Which it was so funny because I saw when you DM'd me a couple days ago, I was like, hey, you want to watch The Bone Collector? I'm like, what the fuck is The Bone Collector? And then I was like, oh, okay, it's the Salt guy, which is super funny because that exact same thing happened when the Salt episode was happening. It's like, all right, you need to watch Salt. I'm like, Salt? What the hell? What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
It's funny. It all fit together. And I had not heard of this one before that, obviously, like I said. And I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's definitely the thoughts I had on it. I thought, you know what? It's pretty good. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. It's a good movie. This isn't like Get Shorty. I talked about Get Shorty a couple episodes ago, and that was one where I was like, yeah, it's good, but man, there's really not a whole ton to talk about because it doesn't really do anything that amazingly. Whereas here, I feel like this is a more positive 6 out of 10 for me, where I'm quite happy with everything it does. I don't think it's an amazing film, but for what it is, and that is a mystery crime thriller from the late 90s, I think it does pretty well with what it's given.
Yeah, I would agree. I went in with basically no expectations because I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really know anything about it. I was like, oh, it's going to be boring. And I wasn't super blown away by it, but I do think it has a lot better tension and atmosphere than I was expecting going in. And I was like, okay, it's a fun little romp. I liked it. It was pretty cool. I appreciated it because I feel like it could be a lot more boring than it is. Denzel Washington, his character is literally in the one room the whole time, and for that he does really good in this. The only other thing I've seen him in is, you probably haven't even heard of it, this movie called John Q, and I watched that in a religion class, and it was really weird because it's about the American healthcare system, and I'm in Canada, so I didn't really get anything out of that
Yeah,
one.
wait. What's the correlation? So you watched it in religion class in Canada,
Yeah,
but it's about the
yeah.
American healthcare system.
Yeah, okay. No, it was so weird. That class I was in was so weird because I watched more films than that than like the actual film class I'm in now, which is kind of funny. But no, I have a whole other tangent with that. I have to watch The Hunger Games in 2 classes one year. It was horrible. But for this one, I was like, and so I show up. I'm like, oh god, what's it gonna be this time? Am I watching The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1? Because I hear we're watching a movie, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I get there, and I was told it displays like Christian values, and I'm like, what? What is this movie? I hadn't even heard of it, and I don't know. It was it's a fine movie. It's again, it was really weird because it's a very like stereotypically patriotic American movie, and I'm not even an American, so I don't know what I was meant to get out of that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's bizarre. That's bizarre.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But this is better than that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
you gotta tell that John Q story because I was that stuck with me because like, what the fuck is that?
No, that's a great story. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to Denzel, we've actually talked about a movie of his on the podcast before, Training Day. Terminal and I did Training Day a while back, and Denzel is often said to be like, oh, one of the greatest actors. And yeah, I think it's definitely a testament because while this is not one of his best roles, obviously, when you think of his best roles, you think of stuff like, I don't know, Tragedy of Macbeth, Malcolm X, and I would even put Training Day up there. But this I would not put up there. But I think it's still a testament to him being a great actor because, yes, he spends the whole movie paralyzed in a bed, and then he still does a great job at that. Like that's pretty impressive that you can make this very tense, very interesting mystery crime thriller, and one of the main characters is just bedridden for 2 hours.
Yeah. It's really interesting how they like handle that whole thing. I really like when they I think the scenes I liked most in this one is when they're cutting from his character to like Angelina Jolie's character, and he's trying to like guide him around. That one part where he like pressures her to cut off like the hand for evidence, and she's clearly uncomfortable with it. Yet he's kind of desensitized to the whole thing because he's like, they establish he's been working on like the force for like a long time, and there's like that perspective switch. I really like that stuff. I think like the tension there is really good, much more than I was expecting for this kind of movie. And performance is really good. I like the whole thing a lot.
It's definitely more tense than Salt, and the tension I remember from that movie is I don't remember anything from that movie, to be quite honest.
Not same low-key. I was like, so I was thinking about because when you told me we are gonna do this, like, all right, I was about to look back at my Salt review, and I'm like, oh, I reviewed this. What did I put? And I check, and I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote the review, so it doesn't make any fucking sense. Never mind. So that wasn't very helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. From memory, Salt was not good.
No.
But maybe. Although that was pre when I was a contrarian, so maybe it would be a little different.
That's true. Nobody talks about Salt anymore, so you being a contrarian means you actually like it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Salt, an underappreciated gem, better than the Wild Robot. Think about it.
Oh boy, no. Yeah, so let's talk about Angelina Jolie, because what are our thoughts on her as an actress? We've gotten our thoughts on Denzel. What about her as an actor? Because she's one of those big Hollywood celebrities, like everybody knows who Angelina Jolie is. But I've realized I've not watched a ton of stuff that she's in. Obviously, I've watched a couple things. Obviously, the main thing I guess I've talked about, because not only have we talked about Salt on this podcast, that being one of her quote unquote big roles. She was in obviously the Kung Fu Panda movies. But then, you know, when it comes to actually her as the main focus, she was in the Maleficent movies. She was in Eternals. Which these are not God. The Angelina Jolie roles you think of, but unfortunately, these are the ones I've seen her in. So,
God, this is awkward. I just checked my letterbox to be like, okay, what have I seen her in? And I've only seen her in DreamWorks movies because she was in Kung Fu Panda and Shark Tale, or Phillip Noyce movies. So it's not. Maybe I'm not getting much. Maybe. Oh, God, I guess. Yeah. Most of these other filmography, I don't think are that like well known or like not well. They are well known, but most of these aren't that well. Like one of these, fucking Gia. I've only heard of that because they mentioned it in Family Guy, so I think that tells you something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forget which, but yeah. So I don't know. I think she's pretty good in this, which is shocking based on, you know, those other roles, I guess. But I don't know. I think Denzel definitely kind of like I think overshadows her in some scenes with it, like back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a bad performance, and I think it works well for what like the movie's going for. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. That is so funny, that being the lineup. But
clearly this is us. We have to realize, okay, maybe we do need to, you know, kind of school ourselves a little harder on Angelina Jolie's filmography.
But, yeah, I haven't even seen Eternals. Like, wow.
I mean, you don't have to.
I mean, wow. Actually, let me check this here. Eternals. 2.7. Bam, it's probably an 8. That's right.
The contrarian.
You just got contrarian.
The contrarian strikes again. And see, you know, because I remember when it was coming out, obviously it was a Marvel movie. There were people who were trying to say it was good. They're like, no, you guys, it's a good Marvel movie. It's like,
I got the director of Nomadland.
Yeah,
a movie that no one talks about anymore, even though didn't it win Best Picture?
It won Best Picture. The director won Best Director. And so then when the Eternals was coming out on the trailers, it said Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. It's like, oh yeah, you can do that now. And then, boy, when you watch the movie, you realize Academy Award winning director, huh? It's like it was one of those things.
That is super funny. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That 2020 Oscars was such a shit show. I don't think you ever watched it, but that was one of the last ones I like actively watched with friends before realizing, wait a minute, I hate the Oscars.
Yeah. I've never watched a single Oscar ceremony all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces. I've only ever watched, you know, the YMS watch-alongs and like the highlights. I've never sat down and watched them. Yeah.
I only watched it this year because fucking Conan was hosting, and I love Conan.
Sure.
You know, it's half because he's a Simpsons writer, but still, love my boy Conan.
I like Conan.
And yeah. And even then, it was funny because this is the year I've watched the least amount of like Best Picture nominees. so when anything won, I was like, oh, cool. I didn't watch that though, but cool. And it was like that for everything, except for anytime Amelia Perez won. I was like, because Twitter's gonna get mad at this.
Yeah. Maybe this is one you don't want to be a contrarian on. Because it burned our crops, poisoned our water supply.
And the figured a plague onto our houses. He did.
No, but are we gonna pretend? Are we gonna stand here until it does?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I can't forget Best Animated Feature too, because I was like, come on, Wild Robot win. I can make a joke about this, and then it didn't. But then an actual like a good movie won.
Well, see, that's when you were proven right for hating Wild Robot.
Yeah, exactly. Because as we all know, Oscar voters definitely pay attention to the quality of the animated movie.
Oh yeah. I've seen an interview where one says they made their maid watch all the movies. So clearly that's high priority on their part.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It was slightly surprising this year, I can't lie, because I was like, obviously all that shit is like phony, but I still expect, they're just gonna give it to what their kids watch. But no, they gave it to like Flow, which was like, you haven't watched that, right?
I haven't watched it. I hear it's really good, and people were very excited.
I really liked it. It wasn't my favorite out of the nominees because Memoir of a Snail was there, and that was really, really. Marion Max director is really. Actually, have you seen either of those?
I've seen Marion Max. I have not seen Memoirs of a Snail. I liked Marion Max, though. It was very good.
Oh, yeah. That movie's great. And Memoir, I don't think it's as good. Memoir of a Snail is still really good.
Right.
But I was still shocked that it's like, they gave it to like a slightly unconventional animated movie that's not Pixar, which I guess it's 3 years in a row now, but every we cynical about it because they're like, Pinocchio won, and I guess that was kind of the death of it because I'm pretty sure that movie winning set up the animation is cinema phrase, and
yeah, I guess it did. I kind of blame that on Mario, but I also don't blame the movies for that. I blame people being stupid on Twitter. But
no, of course not. But I remember, I think he used that phrase in his speech, and I was like,
that's fair to say. They're about. Yeah, I would say the timeline probably correlates pretty well with that. So I agree.
Yeah, but even what I was saying is like I remember when that movie won, I was just kind of like, okay, well. Did they actually like the movie, or was it because Guillermo's name is in the title?
I mean, Guillermo is an Oscar darling. Yeah,
he won like Best Picture a couple years before. So okay. And then the year after, that was like, that was a Boy in the Heron. I wanted that to win too. I thought it was going to be Across the Spider-Verse, which, as we all know, is a terrible, terrible film.
I mean, they breathe in space.
Exactly.
I mean, if they're allowed to breathe in space, what's next for being allowed in movies? The woke mob will not stop.
Exactly. Man, that's why they didn't win actually, because thing is they can only breathe when they're in space. So if like Phil Lord came up to accept the award, he wouldn't be able to breathe. He'd like pass out probably through his speech.
That'd be really funny, just seeing somebody go up to accept their Oscar and they just faint on live television. That'd be awesome. I'd watch the Oscars if that happened.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah.
They should do that. Like, there's a couple speeches I've seen where, not the Oscars, just in general, where a guy comes up, he's like, thanks, and then he leaves. I respect that.
Yeah.
Drag it out.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock did that year. Like,
yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, that's an Alfred Hitchcock classic. I love that.
He's so real for that.
Yeah. Wasn't this episode about the Bone Collector?
Oh yeah. Whoops. That's funny.
Yeah. So Bone Collector. So this is a genre that I feel like doesn't exist anymore, and for good reason. Because one of the major aspects of this genre, it's a crime thriller. Obviously, you see crime thrillers, but I'm talking crime thrillers from the late 90s. And you don't see those anymore because it's 2025 currently. But you watch this movie, and it does a lot of stuff stylistically that you would never see in a modern movie. Biggest reason, the Twin Towers are in frame a lot. You know, there's an obvious reason.
I didn't even think about that. I guess.
There's an obvious reason we don't see them anymore. But also just the way that like the editing will be a little like not spastic, but kind of crazy. But also just the music too. I don't know. You ever notice like the music in a lot of these movies kind of have like that kind of dreary piano sound to it, and it's really it's very particularly 90s.
Yeah, it's a very distinctive vibe. I don't think you really get that anymore. I kind of noticed what you meant with the editing, because there were some parts where they do like little slow-mo bits to emphasize stuff, and I was like, okay, I noticed that as a very particularly like of that time thing. I don't think you could do that now without like someone clipping it on Twitter and be like, wow, this is so cheesy.
Yeah. But also, I just don't think, I think technology is far too crisp and clean now that trying to emulate older styles is always just going to be kind of weird. I feel like some movies do it better than others, but I don't know. Every time you see a movie try to emulate an older style, it's a little weird and wonky at times. You know, one of the worst examples from recent memory was Late Night with the Devil that tried to be like 70s. And the visuals were pretty okay in terms of emulating a late 70s talk show. But and I talked about this, the sound quality was way too clean for it to be taken seriously, where I'm like, okay, this is not the 70s. This is way too clean. And I get it because we have much nicer recording equipment than we did in the 70s. But if you're trying to emulate that, maybe record something and make it sound worse. I think that'd be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I get, like you said, I get why they were probably harder to do, but I think at that point, it's like, I don't think you should half commit. You either go like fully or like not full into it.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that movie because I just know it had AI for like 2 seconds, and now everything else about it is forgotten. But I heard it wasn't that good anyways.
I mean, yeah, I'm of the opinion that outside of the AI stuff, the movie's not very good. It's just the AI stuff wasn't great, but then that became the conversation with that movie. You know, it's like there's other things worse about it, guys. Not just the AI stuff. Like if you actually watch the movie, it's not very good.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure there is, but at the same time, the fact that they even used it probably like you know, pokes a hole in the fact that like you're gonna commit to it, the aesthetic, but you're also gonna like not even fully do it because you're not putting fully the effort into it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's silly.
That's weird.
But
yeah,
there was a charm to it in this though. I will say, like, the movie, like it's kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, I guess they wouldn't do something like that now, but it was still fun. It had a very distinct energy to it.
I liked it. I love this era. I love late 90s, early 2000s. I love it. I think it's a great era. I'm sad we don't see it anymore, but I guess that just makes me love it even more, you know, because if we had it still around, I'd probably be sick of it. So I love it. I love it that because we don't have it anymore, it makes it, you know, absence makes the heart grow. What is it? Fonder, longer?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know which one it is. I actually wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the twist of the movie? So I guess to talk about the movie a little bit. So the point of the movie is that, you know, there's a serial killer going around, and Angelina Jolie and Denzel Washington are tasked with solving it. And Denzel, obviously being bedridden, has to do it all from his apartment. And Angelina Jolie's kind of the eyes on the scene. And so they're going around trying to solve these murders. And they eventually do. What do we think of the twist?
I wasn't super like, well, I guess I didn't like predict it, but wasn't shocked in the sense of like, oh shit, and then that like contextualizes everything else as like a lot of big twists tend to do. I was just kind of like, it created like a great moment in the climax at the part where like, you know, confronts Denzel and you have that whole like big speech. I thought that was like well handled, but it wasn't like, oh shit. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then like I rolled with the rest of the climax. It's fun, but it wasn't like, I guess, super like shocked or wowed by it, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's like fun. That's kind of the case of this whole movie. I wasn't super shocked or wowed by anything. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is nice.
It's definitely a case where I'm like, I think the buildup is way better than the actual reveal, because you're thinking the whole time, and I've noticed this a lot with a lot of stuff I've been watching recently, is trying to watch and see how a buildup to a reveal is done well. I've been watching through the Twilight Zone recently, and I've discovered a very common thing that show does, where it has excellent buildup, just fantastic buildup, just of like, you know, the first 2 acts being this amazing mystery where you're thinking, oh, where is this going? I can't even imagine where this is going to end up. It's phenomenal. And then you get to the reveal, and sometimes it makes you go, holy shit. Other times it makes you go, huh, okay. Okay. So, and it doesn't even really make it so then the episode is bad if I'm ever not as impressed with the twist, because the buildup was just so good that it ultimately doesn't matter. Now, the thing with this twist is that, okay, they discover the guy who was making all these killings was the doctor who was visiting Denzel like once or twice throughout the movie. And yeah, I can't lie, I was a little underwhelmed by that. I was like, hey, oh, okay, I guess he's the killer, which made it interesting because I'm like, okay, so he was a taxi driver, but he was also a doctor. Like, huh?
Yeah.
That
I think part of it was just because I don't think he was like prominent enough for me to be like, oh shit, wow, it was him the whole time. I was like, oh, it's that guy. Okay,
yeah.
that kind of makes
Well,
sense.
because like
But I am 100%.
it's
Sorry, go on.
no, I'm just saying because it's weird because the way they set it up, they're kind of going throughout the movie, kind of insinuating that the killer could be anyone. They even kind of make. I get the feeling they kind of insinuate that it might be Michael Rooker's character, the chief or whatever, the police officer who's kind of an asshole to them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which was weird because I'm thinking, okay, I get it. In movies, whenever you have a mystery and you're trying to find a serial killer, you kind of have like your persons of interest, you have your suspects, and you make them characters. Sometimes with other
Yeah.
serial killer movies, you just have the serial killer kind of his own character off to the side, and like during his B plot, and then the police officers then eventually find them later on in the movie. And I feel like if that was it, that would have been kind of better, kind of like a Silence of the Lambs type of story where you have the police solving it and then you have the serial killer somewhere like in his own B plot. Because with this one, it makes it kind of weird that, oh, it was somebody we knew the whole time. And it's like, oh, it was the doctor and we never knew it was him. And it's like that makes it kind of weird because I don't know, just the fact that this guy was like a doctor, but he was also a licensed taxi driver. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Did nobody notice when he's just like, all right, guys, I'm going to go downstairs to my car, wink, wink, and it goes downstairs and he gets into a taxi and they're like, wait a minute. This killer, he
I
knows a
wonder
lot
what
about doctor
happened.
stuff, but he also has a cab. Could it possibly be that guy? Oh, wait, I guess none of the characters decided to look out the window whenever that guy left, so they didn't know he drove a taxi. But then it's like,
Man, I wonder where he went.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, guys,
Always
I'm
me.
going down to my car. And they're like, wait a minute, this is Manhattan. Nobody owns a car. You're the fucking killer. That would have been amazing if that was how he got found out. But yeah, no, he gets found out, and it's not a bad twist. It's just they don't explain that he was also a taxi driver.
No,
But it also calls into question this really weird moment when she goes to the bookstore, and there's that moment where sees that bookkeeper guy, and he's just like acting all weird, and he's just like, how can I help you? And she's like, oh, I'm looking for this book, or I'm looking for this section on true crime, and he goes, right this way. And he's like acting as if he's like turning towards the camera and being like, it's me, audience, I'm a suspect. It's
wink,
like,
wink.
the bookkeeper, like, why are you making this guy weird? It was really unnecessary.
He's not really prominent elsewhere, so it's like, why would you even like emphasize
Yeah,
that?
why would you emphasize this guy in this one scene? I guess to kind of throw the audience off, but I don't know. It's
yeah, but it's not like a good red herring though. If it's just
no.
like what, like he's just one scene.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, there's a lot of weird, unnecessary moments like that throughout the movie. Like one of the biggest ones to me is, and this is almost very comedic, where you have Angelina Jolie at her apartment, and one of the cops comes to see her, and he's like looking around her apartment, and he looks at some photos of her like in magazines, and he goes, oh, you used to be a model? And she goes, yeah, but I decided to become a cop instead. It's like, okay, where's this gonna go? Oh, nowhere. So why was that in the movie?
It just mentioned that one time, and
Yeah.
then like nowhere else. It's like, okay, I guess it's just to establish it doesn't really pay off anywhere. So just a weird offhand line.
So
just put in the middle of that.
Yeah, my interpretation of that is that they thought Angelina Jolie is too gorgeous to be a New York City cop, so they tried to explain it away as being like, "Oh, she was a model, but then she decided to become a police officer," and you just think, "Oh, that's weird." But then you also have a motivation of her father killing herself as a New York City police officer, and so then that maybe causes her to become a police officer. It's like, okay, why are we including all these weird things that have nothing to do with the rest of the movie? I don't understand it.
It's one of those things that they like. I don't think people would question if they didn't like pseudo call attention to it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know. It seems kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I just think it's funny that they had a moment where a cop literally points out and goes, "You used to be a model, Angelina Jolie, the model that you look like you are." It goes, "Yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. She used to be a model, but now she's a New York City police officer." It's like, okay,
Wow.
look, Hollywood celebrities are attractive people, and they're going to play roles that they wouldn't normally. So I have enough suspension of disbelief to believe that Angelina Jolie would be a cop in this movie. I don't need a reason to explain why she's so attractive. It's
Hot people in the police.
Yeah.
Hot people in the police force. This is really a big suspension of my disbelief.
Yeah. I can't
Like,
watch
okay.
this movie. It's too stupid now.
You know what? That's the problem with the Bone Collector. They needed more ugly. That's
They needed more
that'll be
ugly.
more real.
We need more ugly.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so stupid.
Yeah.
What the woke collector?
The woke collector.
It's so fucking
We need more diversity.
DEI hire? Wow.
Which is ironic
Nice
because
job, Owen.
they don't collect a lot of bones in this movie. So,
Yeah.
You know who the real woke
False
collector was? Disney, because they're not actually woke. We did it. We solved the joke.
Yay! You know, if I was like, if I had a couple hundred more, I could make my review. They didn't collect that many bones, and I could be like top 3 on Letterboxd. Trust me.
Yeah. I mean, I can forgive it because I mean the we find out that there's a book in the movie's universe called The Bone Collector, and it's basically about this serial killer in old New York, and then they go through the pages and all the pictures are of the ways that the victims have been killed. So you have the guy buried at the train yard, you have a guy literally eaten to death by rats, you have a woman tied up and she's getting steam from the New York steam pipes. It's so I can kind of forgive it. It's like, okay, I can see why they called it The Bone Collector. But yeah, they collect a total of 3 bones in the movie.
Yeah. They should have had a scene where Denzel Washington, man, this guy collects a lot of bones. It's almost as if he's some kind of bone collector. Hold on. Say that again.
Miles Teller comes in. Say that again.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's funny actually is I did the most minimal level of research, being like, oh, is there anything like else with this movie? And apparently it's based on a book. I didn't know that. It came out a couple before this. And actually there's also a Bone Collector show that came out for like 1 season after. And then Lincoln Rhyme Hunt for the Bone Collector that I guess started and ended in 2020.
Really?
And I guess no one watched it because I hadn't heard it. Yeah, and I guess I hadn't heard of it, and I don't think anyone else did because I just knew it by glancing at Wikipedia for 2 seconds. But yeah.
Look at this. Lincoln Rhyme Hunt for the Bone Collector. Oh wow, it has actors. Michael Imperioli is in it. Fucking Christopher from The Sopranos. Okay. That's the only actor I can recognize from this, and it doesn't look like he's a major role. Oh, that's I'm never watching the show because I don't care.
You got to see how the Bone Collector cinematic universe pans out, though.
I think I'm fine with I'm fine with just watching the movie, which I would watch again. I think this movie was entertaining enough. Again, it's part of a '90s blockbuster, like mystery thriller, blockbuster craze that you don't see anymore. So I thought it was still pretty good for what it was. I would watch it again.
Yeah, and I certainly liked a lot of like individual bits from this more than I thought I would. I really liked the vibe of the initial like train bit. I thought that was like really cool. One of the first like initial like establishing stuff that was cool. The shit with the rats actually thought was really cool. That was fun. Like some of the some of the CGI wasn't super great.
Oh, dude, the CGI rat that just vores the audience. It just like eats the camera. It's so funny, so funny.
Yeah,
it's one of those shots that didn't need to be in there, but the filmmakers were like, "No, we need to have the rat eat the camera." It's like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad they went with that.
I mean, you know, it was a cool perspective shot at least. So
yeah,
they put that in there.
Yeah. So.
And,
Bone Collector. Yeah. I liked it. I think it's good enough that I want to keep it in the collection. I was thinking, oh, maybe this is, one of those 90s movies that should be forgotten to the 90s, but honestly, I'd be okay with revisiting this from now on. Not very often, but often enough.
Yeah. I rewatched some bits of it today but it's fun. I could see myself watching this in like the far future, even if it's not like not super good. Yeah. As I once said about a 2023 DreamWorks film, I mean, it's not that good. It's pretty good, like God.
So wait, 2023 Ruby Gillman?
Oh, I meant 2024.
Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah. See, they call me the number one hater. Yeah, it's my secondary.
Yeah,
my first is I'm the number one contrarian.
You're the number one. Yeah,
is that I'm the number one.
Yeah. You're the number one hater.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I think that just about does it. I don't really have anything else to say about the Bone Collector other than R.I.P. Thelma ? Because real quick, actually, Queen Latifah's in this movie. She plays the sassy black nurse to Denzel Washington, and then she gets stabbed by the doctor, and we don't see her at the Christmas party at the end of the movie. So I'm just assuming she died, but like,
yeah.
That kind of sucks. I would have liked to have seen Thelma there, like at least with I don't know, do it where like it makes no sense where she's walking around with a cane. She got stabbed, but she has like a cane and she's just like, "Oh, I'm fine. Just gotta take things easy." It's like you got stabbed.
Put her in like a cartoon exaggerated cast.
Oh yeah, full body cast. She's still even though it's like 6 months later in Christmas, she's still recovering.
No, it's like the SpongeBob episode where like the chocolate salesman fakes like that he's injured in front of SpongeBob and Patrick. Just like whole fucking bodysuit.
Yeah. Thelma, what happened to you? I was born with glass bones and paper skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm done talking about the Bone Collectors. So Brian, the contrarian that you are, why don't you shout out your stuff, dude? Where can people find you?
You probably have already heard of me because I'm a bit of a countercultural, as the kids say. But yeah, you can find me on like I think same place as the last time. I got a letterbox. I log there slightly more regularly now. If you want to see me watch incredible stuff like Don't Eat the Pictures, Sesame Street at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or Lost Highway by David Lynch, very similar stuff. You can find me over there. I got a serialized. I'm not as active on there right now, but if you want to see any episode logs and stuff, I'm over there. I also got, I guess I'll plug now, I got a backlog. I've been playing games slightly more than usual. If you want to find me over there, you can do that. Shout out to the best game of all time, Monkey Type, which is the typing simulator, but it's goated, trust me. And I got my podcast channel, Campy Cast, with Anthony, friend of friend of the podcast. We haven't had an episode in a while. We're on a bit of a hiatus, but we'll eventually be back. We're gonna do a big episode on 2024 stuff, ideally, when we figure that out. We did one a while ago on the Sonic movie. It was really, check that out. Sonic movies with Chaos as a guest. It was a real good time. So check all that stuff out. And thank you, Hal, for having me on a third time. This is certainly a much smaller effort than my other episodes. You know, that's fun. It's fun to have a nice bite-sized little episode. And I did do as many little tangents as I wanted. So thank you.
Yeah, I definitely got to keep doing these like smaller episodes moving forward. Obviously, I'm still gonna have the big episodes, the big boys, the big juicy ones. But I think a nice bite-sized one every once in a while, just to really get it along to, you know, get a lot of these movies decided on whether I want to keep them or not. Because again, that's the main objective with this podcast, and I don't feel as though I've made any leeway with this stuff. So yeah.
God, I have too many movies. Hold on. Say that again.
I've made that joke so many times, but I've not gotten tired of it. It's funny every time I post that Miles Teller gif. Every time somebody says that.
Is that how you came up with the name?
No.
Damn.
I don't remember.
I really wish you were sitting around like in the gif. He's like, man, this is just too many movies.
Yeah.
Say that again.
So stupid. All right. Yeah.
I forget that happens and stuff. Unironically, it's so funny. I see that. What the fuck is that? It's because it seems so unserious. So when you see it for real and something, it's like, it's so funny.
I am glad that's.
I haven't even seen
it. Oh, you haven't seen Fan Four Stick? Oh.
No, I haven't seen any Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, dude.
Because look. I mean, I guess there's a new one, but I'm not watching.
You're not
Marvel crap.
Oh, God, you really are such a contrarian.
Oh my God, that's funny. I was a contrarian before school, and that's one of the times I was a contrarian, and it paid off because I was like, I mean, the MCU is all right, but in 2019, and well, look now, look who won now.
Look who's laughing now.
That's literally me.
Oh, all right, that's enough. Bye everybody. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye. Just for